The first thing Mira learned about rejection was that it came in layers. Layer 1, being born Omega in a pack that valued strength above all else. Layer 2, being a stubborn, opinionated Omega who couldn't keep her mouth shut when she saw injustice. Layer 3, being caught stealing medical supplies to treat a rogue who'd stumbled into pack territory half dead. Banishment is a mercy, Alpha Torsten had said, his voice cold as the winter wind howling outside the pack house. You should be grateful we're not executing you for treason. Treason. Because she'd wasted pack resources on someone who wasn't pack. Never mind that the someone had been a 15-year-old girl with an infected wound and nowhere else to go. Never mind that Mira had used her own meager savings to buy most of the supplies. Details didn't matter when an alpha had already decided you were disposable. So here she was, 28 years old, Omega, and thoroughly banished, trudging through knee-deep snow in the kind of blizzard that made wolves reconsider their life choices. She had a backpack with 3 days' worth of supplies, a coat that was more optimism than insulation, and a burning resentment that was doing absolutely nothing to keep her warm. This is fine, Mira muttered to herself, her breath fogging in the frigid air. This is totally fine. Just a nice winter hike. Character building. Very healthy. The wind howled in response, which felt unnecessarily judgmental. She'd been walking for maybe 6 hours, aiming for Frost Hollow Pack's territory. They were known for being more progressive, more willing to accept rogues and outcasts. Or at least, that's what the rumors said. Mira was banking her entire survival on rumors, which was either brave or stupid. Probably stupid. But she was committed now. The storm was getting worse. Visibility had dropped to maybe 10 feet, and Mira's fingers were going numb despite her gloves. She needed to find shelter soon, or she'd be a very self-righteous ice sculpture by morning. That's when she heard it. A sound that made her freeze mid-step. Crying. A child crying, high-pitched and desperate, and definitely not something that should be out in this weather. You've got to be kidding me, Mira said to the uncaring universe. The universe, as usual, did not respond. She followed the sound, pushing through deeper snow until she found him. A pup, maybe 4 or 5 years old, huddled against a fallen tree. He was tiny, underfed, and shaking so hard his teeth chattered. But what caught Mira's attention, what made her heart drop into her stomach, was his leg. The left leg was twisted at an unnatural angle, clearly a birth defect that had never been properly treated. The pup couldn't have walked far on it, couldn't run, could barely even crawl by the look of it, and he was alone in a blizzard. Hey, Mira said softly, approaching slowly so she wouldn't startle him. Hey, sweetheart, what are you doing out here? The pup's head snapped up. His eyes were huge and terrified, his lips blue with cold. He tried to scramble backward and immediately cried out in pain when his bad leg hit the ground wrong. It's okay, Mira soothed, dropping to her knees despite the snow soaking through immediately. I'm not going to hurt you. My name is Mira. What's yours? The pup stared at her, shivering violently. Up close, she could see he'd been crying for a while. His face was red and raw, his small hands were blue with cold. Finn? He managed through chattering teeth. Finn? That's a good name. Mira shrugged off her backpack and pulled out her emergency blanket. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. Can I wrap this around you? You're really cold. Finn nodded, and Mira carefully wrapped the thin thermal blanket around his small body. He was so little, way too little to be out here alone. Where's your pack, Finn? Where are your parents? Don't have pack. Finn's voice was small and broken. Don't have parents. They left me. Mira's blood ran cold, and it had nothing to do with the temperature. They left you? Out here? In a storm? Finn nodded miserably. Said I was too much trouble. Said my leg makes me useless. Said no pack would want me, and I'd just slow everyone down. His voice cracked. They said it was kinder to leave me where I wouldn't suffer long. Rage, immediate and incandescent, flooded through Mira. Someone had looked at this tiny, disabled pup and decided he was better off dead. Had brought him out into a blizzard and abandoned him to freeze. Well, they were wrong, Mira said fiercely. On every single count. You're not useless. Your leg doesn't define your worth, and you absolutely will not be freezing to death today. Do you hear me? Finn stared at her with those huge, disbelieving eyes. You're not leaving me? Not a chance. Mira was already doing calculations in her head. The pup was too small and too injured to walk. The storm was getting worse. She was maybe 4 miles from Frost Hollow territory, but there was no way they'd make it before dark. She was going to have to carry him. All right, Finn, here's the plan. I'm going to carry you on my back to the nearest pack. It's going to be cold and uncomfortable, but I promise I'm not putting you down until we're somewhere safe. Deal? You're going to carry me? Finn's voice was incredulous. But I'm too heavy. Everyone says I'm too heavy. Everyone is an idiot. Mira shifted her backpack to her front and crouched down with her back to Finn. Climb on and hold tight. Finn hesitated for a moment, then carefully climbed onto her back, his good leg wrapping around her waist, while his bad leg hung at an awkward angle. He was lighter than she'd expected. Too light, really, for a pup his age. Severely malnourished. Mira stood up slowly, adjusting to the weight. Her legs protested immediately. This was going to be brutal. Okay, she said, starting to walk. Let's go find somewhere warm. You hanging in there? Yes, Finn whispered against her shoulder. Then, quieter. Thank you. For not leaving me. Mira's throat tightened. Thank me when we're not hypothermic. For now, just hold on tight and try to stay as warm as you can. The storm seemed determined to kill them both. Wind whipped snow into Mira's face, stinging her eyes and making it nearly impossible to see. Her legs burned with exertion, the added weight making each step a conscious effort. The cold was seeping through her inadequate coat, settling into her bones. But she kept walking, because the alternative was unthinkable. Tell me about yourself, Finn, Mira said, partly to keep him conscious and partly to distract herself from the fact that her feet had gone numb. What do you like? What makes you happy? I like stories, Finn said, his voice muffled against her shoulder. About heroes and adventures. My mother used to tell me stories before. He trailed off. Before she left you to die in the snow? Mira's voice was sharper than she'd intended. Sorry. That was harsh. I'm just really angry at your parents right now. It's okay. I'm angry at them too. Finn was quiet for a moment. Are you really taking me to a pack? Won't they just turn me away too? Not if I have anything to say about it. But what if they do? What if no one wants a pup with a bad leg? Then we keep walking until we find someone who isn't a complete waste of oxygen. Mira adjusted her grip as Finn started to slip. Besides, your leg doesn't make you unwanted. It makes you different, and different can be good. That's not what my pack said. Your pack was wrong, and also terrible. Seriously, what kind of monsters abandon a child in a blizzard? The kind who think weak wolves don't deserve to live, Finn said matter-of-factly, like he was reciting something he'd heard many times. Mira wanted to scream, or punch something, or track down Finn's former pack and give them a detailed lecture on basic human decency right before she kicked them all into a frozen lake. But she settled for trudging forward through the snow, one agonizing step at a time. 2 hours later, Mira's legs were screaming, and Finn had gone worryingly quiet. The storm had somehow gotten worse, which didn't seem physically possible, but here they were. Finn, you still with me? It was barely a sound. Hey, no falling asleep. I need you to stay awake. Tell me more about those stories you like. What's your favorite? The one, about the Omega, who saved the pack. Finn's voice was slurred with cold and exhaustion. Yeah? How does that one go? Don't remember. So cold. Panic spiked through Mira. Finn was going hypothermic. They needed shelter now. Through the driving snow, she spotted something. A darker shadow that might have been a rock formation, or a cave, or possibly a hallucination because her brain was freezing. Only one way to find out. Mira changed direction, pushing toward the shadow with the last reserves of her strength. Her legs gave out twice, sending them both crashing into the snow. Each time, she forced herself back up, adjusted Finn on her back, and kept going. The shadow resolved into a rocky overhang. Not a proper cave, but enough of an indent to provide shelter from the worst of the wind. Mira stumbled under it and carefully lowered Finn to the ground. He was pale. Too pale. His lips were blue and he was barely shivering anymore, which was a bad sign. Okay, we're okay, Mira said, more to herself than to Finn. Her hands were shaking as she pulled out her emergency supplies. She had matches, one thermal blanket left, some dried meat that was now frozen solid. She got a small fire going, thanked the goddess for dry kindling in her pack, and wrapped Finn in every piece of fabric she had, including her own coat. Then she pulled him close, using her body heat to warm him. Stay with me, Finn. Come on, kid. Don't give up now. Finn's eyes fluttered open. You're cold, he mumbled. You gave me your coat. I'm fine. Omegas are basically furnaces. Didn't you know? It was a complete lie. Mira was freezing. But Finn needed the coat more than she did. You're a bad liar, Finn said, but he burrowed closer to her warmth. Yeah, well, it's one of my many character flaws, along with being stubborn, mouthy, and apparently incapable of making good life choices. Mira rubbed Finn's arms, trying to get circulation going. But hey, at least I'm consistent. Thank you, Finn whispered, for not leaving me, even though I'm broken. You're not broken. You're just built different. There's nothing wrong with you that requires fixing, Finn. Your leg works differently, but that doesn't make you less valuable. It just makes you you. My pack didn't think so. Your pack was objectively terrible. We've established this. Mira fed another stick to the small fire. But there are better packs out there. Packs that understand worth isn't measured by how fast you can run or how well you fight. We just have to find them. What if we don't? What if everyone rejects me like they rejected you? Then we'll make our own pack. A pack of 2 misfit wolves who are too stubborn to die in the snow. We'll be legends. People will tell stories about us. That got a tiny smile. Really? Absolutely. The Ballad of Mira and Finn, 2 idiots who survived against all odds. It'll be a bestseller. Finn laughed weakly, then coughed. The sound made Mira's chest tight with worry. They couldn't stay here long. As soon as the storm broke, they needed to keep moving. Get some rest, Mira said, holding him closer. I'll keep watch. When the storm clears, we'll head for Frost Hollow Pack. They're good people. They'll help us. Promise? I promise to do everything in my power to get us somewhere safe. How's that? Good enough, Finn mumbled, his eyes already drifting closed. Mira sat there in the cold, holding a pup she'd known for all of a few hours, and wondered how her life had become a series of increasingly questionable decisions. But looking down at Finn's small face, peaceful now in sleep, she couldn't bring herself to regret this one. Some things were worth freezing for. The storm broke just before dawn. Mira had managed maybe an hour of fitful sleep, jerking awake every time Finn shifted or the fire needed tending. Her whole body ached, her fingers were stiff with cold, and she was pretty sure she'd never be warm again. But they were alive. That counted for something. Finn, hey Finn, wake up. She gently shook his shoulder. We need to move. Finn's eyes opened slowly. I had a dream you were real. Surprise. I'm real, and we're still in a frozen hellscape. But the good news is the storm stopped, so now we just have to trudge through waist-deep snow for several more miles. Fun times ahead. Finn giggled weakly, which Mira took as a good sign. She rationed out some of the dried meat, softened slightly by the fire, and they shared a few sips of water from her canteen. It wasn't much, but it was something. "Ready?" Mira asked, crouching down for Finn to climb on her back again. "You don't have to carry me the whole way," Finn said quietly. "I can try to walk some." "On a leg that's twisted wrong through snow that's 3 feet deep? I don't think so." Mira gestured to her back. "Besides, I've already carried you this far. What's a few more miles? I'm committed to this terrible decision." Finn climbed on, and Mira stood with a groan that she tried to pass off as a stretch. "Let's do this," she said with far more confidence than she felt. The landscape looked different in daylight, endless white in every direction, broken occasionally by dark silhouettes of trees. Beautiful in a hostile, trying to murder you kind of way. Mira checked her internal compass. Wolves had good directional sense, and started walking northeast. Frost Hollow territory should be maybe 2 miles away now. They could make that. Probably. Hopefully. "So what's this Frost Hollow pack like?" Finn asked after they'd been walking for maybe half an hour. "Honestly, I've never met them, but I've heard they're more accepting of outsiders, less obsessed with traditional pack hierarchy. They supposedly judge wolves by their character instead of their designation or physical ability." "That sounds made up." "It might be. I'm literally betting our lives on gossip and rumors. But hey, that's been my MO lately, so why stop now?" They walked in silence for a while. Mira's legs were burning again, her back ached from Finn's weight, and she was pretty sure she had frostbite on at least 3 toes. But they were making progress. Then she saw the markers. Territory boundary markers. Strategic placements of stones and specific tree scratches that marked packland. "We're here," Mira said, relief flooding through her. "This is Frost Hollow territory. What do we do now? We cross the boundary and hope they find us before we freeze to death. Or a patrol finds us. Either way, we're about to meet some new wolves." Mira took a deep breath and stepped over the boundary line. They made it maybe 100 yards before the patrol found them. 4 wolves emerged from the tree line, all of them shifted and snarling. "Well, this is either really good or really bad," Mira muttered. "Stay calm, Finn." The wolves circled them, teeth bared. Then one of them, a large gray male, shifted back to human form. He was maybe 40, scarred, and looked distinctly unimpressed. "You're trespassing," he said flatly. "I'm seeking asylum," Mira corrected. "Big difference. I'm Mira, recently banished Omega from Ironwood Pack. This is Finn, recently abandoned pup from... Actually, I don't know which pack abandoned him, but someone did. We're cold, hungry, and would very much like to not die in the snow. Can we speak with your alpha?" The gray wolf's eyes moved to Finn, taking in his small size and twisted leg. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. "Abandoned?" "Left in a blizzard to freeze to death because his leg made him useless." Mira's voice was hard. "So yeah, abandoned. We're both refugees, basically. And before you ask, yes, I carried him through the storm. No, I'm not putting him down. And no, I'm not leaving without him. So you can either help us or turn us away, but I'm not making it easy for you." The gray wolf studied them for a long moment. "I'm Beta Marcus. Follow me. The Alpha will want to meet you both." Mira's legs nearly gave out with relief. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. Alpha Freya doesn't take kindly to pack politics. If your story doesn't check out, you'll both be escorted back to the boundary." "That's fair. Lucky for us, our story is completely true and also deeply depressing." They followed the patrol deeper into Frost Hollow territory, Finn still on Mira's back because she absolutely was not trusting him to anyone else yet. The pack house came into view, a sprawling structure built into the side of a hill, smoke rising from multiple chimneys. It looked warm. Mira had never wanted anything more in her life. Inside was chaos. Not bad chaos, just the normal chaos of a pack house. Wolves coming and going, children playing, the smell of food cooking somewhere. Everyone stopped to stare at the bedraggled Omega carrying a pup with a visibly disabled leg. Mira stared back. She was way too tired for shame. "Alpha Freya is in her office," Marcus said, leading them up a set of stairs. "Fair warning, she's going to ask a lot of questions. Answer honestly, or she'll know." Honestly is kind of my whole thing. Got me banished, actually. Marcus gave her a look that might have been respect or might have been exasperation. Hard to tell. They reached a heavy wooden door. Marcus knocked twice, then entered without waiting for a response. Alpha Freya was maybe 50, with silver-shot black hair and the kind of presence that made you sit up straighter without realizing it. She looked up from a stack of papers, her gray eyes sharp and assessing. "Beta Marcus, what do we have here?" Refugees, Alpha, Omega, and Pup, both with concerning stories. Freya's attention focused entirely on Mira and Finn. "Sit. You look like you're about to collapse." Mira had never been so grateful for an order in her life. She carefully lowered Finn into a chair, then collapsed into one herself. "I'm Alpha Freya. This is Frost Hollow Pack. Tell me everything." So Mira did. She explained her banishment from Ironwood Pack, finding Finn in the storm, his abandonment, the 10-mile trek through snow to reach Frost Hollow territory. She left nothing out, including her theft of medical supplies and her very loud opinions about packs that abandoned disabled pups. When she finished, Freya was quiet for a long moment. "You carried him 10 miles, in a blizzard. More like 12, actually. I got a bit lost." "Why?" Mira blinked. "Why what? Why did you take him? You were already banished, already struggling to survive. Adding a disabled pup to your burden would make everything harder. Why not leave him?" The question made Mira want to flip the desk, but she kept her voice level. "Because he's a child. Because no child deserves to freeze to death alone. Because his disability doesn't make him disposable." She leaned forward. "And because I've been rejected and discarded my whole life for not being valuable enough. I wasn't about to do the same thing to someone else." Freya's expression shifted, softened slightly. "Finn," she said gently, "can you tell me what happened? How you ended up in that storm?" Finn had been quiet this whole time, pressed against Mira's side. Now he spoke, his voice small but clear. "My parents said I was too much trouble, that my leg made me useless and I'd never be a real wolf. They took me out during the storm and left me by the tree, said it was kinder than watching me suffer." Freya's jaw tightened. "Which pack?" "Stonecrest." "Stonecrest." Freya's voice was ice. "Alpha Roland's pack." "You know them?" Mira asked. "I know Roland fancies himself a traditionalist. Apparently, that includes eugenics." Freya stood and walked to the window, staring out at the snow-covered territory. "We've had issues with Stonecrest before. Their views on Omega and disability rights are archaic." She turned back to face them. "Here's what's going to happen. Finn, you're staying here, permanently. You're Frost Hollow Pack now. We have healers who can help with your leg. Not fix it, but help you manage it better. You'll be educated, trained, and treated like any other pack pup." Finn's eyes went wide. "Really? Even with my leg?" "Especially with your leg. We don't measure worth by physical ability here." Freya's expression softened. "You're safe now, Finn. No one is abandoning you again." Finn burst into tears. Happy tears this time, his small body shaking with sobs. Mira pulled him close and glared at Freya over his head. "If you're lying to him, I will burn this pack house down." "I don't lie to children." Freya turned her attention to Mira. "As for you, you carried a disabled pup 12 miles through a blizzard to save his life. You had nothing to gain and everything to lose. That speaks to your character." I did it because it was right, not because I wanted something. I know, which is why I'm offering you sanctuary as well. Frost Hollow Pack membership if you want it. Mira's brain stalled. What? You heard me. You're exactly the kind of wolf we value here. Stubborn, brave, and willing to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. Freya smiled slightly. Even if you are mouthy and terrible at following orders. How did you— Beta Marcus's report. Also, it's obvious. Freya sat back down. So what do you say, Mira? Want to join a pack that actually deserves you? Mira looked down at Finn, who was still crying, but now smiling too. She thought about Ironwood Pack, who'd thrown her away for showing compassion. She thought about the 12 miles of frozen hell she'd just survived. Yes, she said, we'll join your pack, both of us, together. Together, Finn echoed, grabbing her hand. Good. Freya stood. Beta Marcus will show you to quarters. You both need food, warmth, and about 12 hours of sleep. We'll handle the paperwork later. As they were leaving, Freya called out, Mira? Mira turned. What you did, carrying him through that storm, most wolves wouldn't have. Thank you for bringing him home. Mira's throat was tight. Thank you for being a pack worthy of him. Every pack turned away the disabled pup. Rejected Omega carried him 10 miles through snow. Part 2. The quarters Beta Marcus showed them to were nicer than anywhere Mira had ever lived. 2 bedrooms, a shared living space with an actual fireplace, and a bathroom with running hot water that made Mira want to weep with joy. The healer will be by in an hour to check you both over, Marcus said. Food will be delivered shortly. Try not to burn the place down. Why does everyone think I'm going to burn things down? Mira muttered. You have that energy, Marcus said, completely serious, and left. Finn stood in the middle of the living room, looking lost. Is this really ours? Apparently. Mira was already moving toward the fireplace, desperate to get warm. We can share the bigger bedroom if you want. Or you can have your own space. Whatever makes you comfortable. Can I stay with you, just for tonight? Of course. Mira got the fire going, thanked the goddess for properly dried wood and actual kindling, then turned to find Finn, still standing in the same spot, like he was afraid to touch anything. Hey, she said gently, what's wrong? What if they change their minds? What if they decide I'm too much trouble and send me away? Mira's heart cracked. They won't. You don't know that. Everyone always changes their minds about me eventually. Well, I haven't. And I'm not going to. Mira crossed to him and crouched down to his level. Look at me, Finn. I carried you 12 miles through a blizzard. Do you really think I'm going to give up on you now that we're somewhere warm? But what if— No what ifs. We're here. We're safe. And Alpha Freya doesn't strike me as the kind of person who makes promises she doesn't intend to keep. Mira ruffled his hair. Besides, she'd have to go through me first, and I'm apparently very annoying when I'm protecting someone. That got a small smile. Food arrived moments later, thick stew, fresh bread, and something that might have been pie. Mira and Finn ate like they'd never seen food before, which wasn't far from the truth. The stew was warm and filling, and possibly the best thing Mira had ever tasted. This is amazing, Finn said around a mouthful of bread. Is all pack food this good? I have no idea. My old pack fed Omegas whatever was left after everyone else ate, which was usually not much and definitely not this good. That's mean. Yeah, well, they were mean in general. It's kind of their whole brand. The healer arrived as promised, a middle-aged woman named Kara, with kind eyes and gentle hands. She checked them both over with professional efficiency. Mild frostbite on your toes, she told Mira. Nothing permanent if you take care of it. I'm more concerned about exhaustion and dehydration. You pushed your body hard. Had to. Couldn't exactly take a break. Kara turned her attention to Finn, examining his twisted leg with careful thoroughness. This is a congenital condition. Were you ever treated for it? Finn shook his head. They said it couldn't be fixed, so why bother? It can't be fixed, but it can be managed. Kara's voice was firm. With the right brace and exercises, you can improve your mobility significantly. It won't ever be perfect, but it can be much better than it is now. Really? Finn's eyes were huge. I could walk better? With time and work, yes. And pain management. This type of condition usually causes chronic pain. We can help with that too. Finn looked at Mira. Did you hear that? I could walk better. I heard. Mira's throat was tight. That's amazing, Finn. After Kara left with instructions for care and a promise to return tomorrow, Finn promptly fell asleep on the couch, exhausted by everything. Mira covered him with every blanket she could find, then finally let herself process what had happened. They'd made it. Against all odds, through impossible conditions, they'd survived. Finn had a home. They both did. Mira sat down hard on the floor and cried, just for a minute, just to get it out. Then she pulled herself together because she was pretty sure emotional breakdowns weren't impressive, and she wanted this pack to keep them. The next few days were a whirlwind of adjustment. Finn was fitted for a proper leg brace by a pack craftsman who treated him like any other patient instead of a burden. He started physical therapy with Kara, learning exercises to strengthen his good leg and manage pain in his bad one. And slowly, carefully, he started to believe he might actually get to stay. Mira, meanwhile, was being integrated into pack life with the efficiency that was slightly intimidating. Alpha Freya had assigned her to work in the pack clinic as Kara's assistant, apparently stealing medical supplies to help someone demonstrated an interest in healing. I was just trying not to let her die, Mira protested. And now you're going to learn how to do it properly, Kara said cheerfully. You're smart, observant, and you care about helping people. That's 90% of being a good healer. The rest is just learning which plants do what. Mira discovered she actually loved the work. Learning about medicines and treatments and how to help people was far more satisfying than the menial Omega tasks she'd done at Ironwood. But not everyone in Frost Hollow was thrilled about the new arrivals. 3 weeks after they'd arrived, Mira was walking Finn back from physical therapy when a group of pack wolves blocked their path. 4 of them, all young males, all wearing matching expressions of disdain. That's the crippled pup, one of them said, loud enough for Finn to hear. The one the alpha's letting stay. Seems like a waste of resources, another added, taking in damaged goods. Mira saw red. Excuse me? The first wolf, a beta's son named Derek, Mira had learned, smirked. Just stating facts. Kid can barely walk. What's he going to contribute to the pack? More than you, apparently, since your main contribution seems to be standing around insulting children. Mira positioned herself in front of Finn. Got anything else stupid to say, or can we go? You're the banished Omega, Derek continued. From Ironwood. I heard you got kicked out for stealing. I got kicked out for having basic compassion, which seems to be in short supply around here too. Compassion doesn't protect a pack, strength does, and neither of you look very strong to me. That's interesting, because I carried Finn 12 miles through a blizzard while you were probably sitting somewhere warm, eating your feelings. Mira smiled sweetly. But please, tell me more about strength. Derek's face flushed red. You can't talk to me like that. You're a beta's son who's never had to work for anything in his life. I'm an Omega who's survived things you can't imagine. We are not the same. Mira's voice dropped to something dangerous. Now get out of my way before I make you. You threatening me, Omega? I'm promising you, there's a difference. For a moment, Derek looked like he might actually try something. Then Beta Marcus appeared out of nowhere, his expression thunderous. Is there a problem here? Derek and his friends suddenly looked a lot less confident. No, Beta, just talking. It sounded like harassment, which, as you know, violates pack law. Marcus's voice was cold. Especially harassment of a disabled pup. That's a particularly disgusting offense. We weren't. I suggest you leave, now, before I decide this warrants a formal complaint to the Alpha. They left, but not before Derek shot Mira a look that promised this wasn't over. "You okay?" Marcus asked once they were gone. "Fine. Annoyed, but fine." Mira looked down at Finn, who was pressed against her side. "You okay, kid?" "Why do they hate me?" Finn's voice was small. "I didn't do anything to them." "They don't hate you," Marcus said surprisingly gently. "They hate that your existence challenges their worldview. Some wolves are raised to believe that strength and physical ability are the only things that matter. You prove them wrong just by being here, and that makes them uncomfortable. So it's my fault? No. It's their fault for being narrow-minded idiots." Marcus crouched down to Finn's level. "Listen to me, pup. Your worth isn't determined by how fast you can run or how well you fight. It's determined by your character, your choices, and how you treat others. Don't let anyone tell you differently." Finn nodded, but Mira could see he didn't quite believe it yet. That night, after Finn had gone to bed, Mira sat with Kara in the clinic, learning about medicinal herbs. "Derek and his friends have always been problems," Kara said quietly. "They buy into the old ways. Alpha Freya's been trying to change the pack culture, but some wolves resist." "What are the old ways exactly?" "Survival of the fittest taken to an extreme. Disabled wolves, elderly wolves, anyone considered weak was expected to leave the pack or die trying to prove their worth." Kara's expression was grim. "Freya's father was like that. She changed things when she became alpha, but not everyone agrees with her approach." "How bad does it get?" "Usually just verbal harassment. Occasionally, someone tries to challenge her authority more directly. She shuts them down hard." Kara measured out dried lavender with practiced ease. "But with Finn here, and you defending him so publicly, it might escalate." "Let it. I'm not letting anyone hurt him." "I know. That's what worries me." Kara looked at Mira seriously. "You're Omega. If you get into a physical altercation with a beta wolf, pack law won't protect you the way it would if you were higher ranked." "Then I'll just have to not get caught." "Mira, I'm kidding, mostly." Mira sighed. "I'm not looking for a fight, but I'm not backing down if they come after Finn." "I know. Which is why I'm teaching you emergency medicine. Someone's got to patch you up when your protective instincts override your common sense." Despite the harassment from Derek's group, life settled into something resembling normal. Finn made friends with some of the younger pups, kids who didn't care about his leg and just wanted someone to play their weird, elaborate games with. He got stronger, more confident, started smiling easier. Mira watched him transform from a scared, broken child into a happy kid and felt something fierce and protective bloom in her chest. "You're getting attached," Kara observed one day as they watched Finn play with his friends in the snow. "Is that a problem?" "No, just an observation. You look at him like he's yours. He is mine. I carried him through a blizzard. That makes him mine." "That's not how pack bonds usually work." "Well, I'm not usual. We've established this." Mira watched Finn laugh at something one of his friends said. "He doesn't have anyone else. His parents abandoned him. Someone needs to be his person." "And you've decided it's you." "Yeah, I have. Is that okay with you?" Kara smiled. "More than okay. I think it's perfect. That kid needs someone exactly like you, stubborn, fierce, and too protective for his own good." "I'm really selling myself well today." "You're selling yourself perfectly. Finn doesn't need someone perfect. He needs someone who won't give up on him, and that's you." 6 weeks after they'd arrived, Alpha Freya summoned Mira to her office. "Sit," Freya said, gesturing to a chair. "We need to talk about Finn." Mira's stomach dropped. "What about him?" "He's thriving. The healers say his mobility has improved 30% with the brace and exercises. His teachers report he's bright and engaged. His friends say he's funny and kind." Freya leaned back in her chair. By all accounts, accepting him into the pack was the right decision. But there's been pushback from some pack members. Wolves who think resources are being wasted on a disabled pup. Derek's family in particular has been vocal about their disapproval. Derek's family can... Mira bit back what she was about to say. Derek's family is entitled to their opinion, even if their opinion is garbage. Agreed, but it's causing tension, and I wanted to discuss how to address it. Freya's expression was serious. I also wanted to discuss your role in Finn's life. My role? You've essentially been acting as his guardian since you brought him here, making decisions about his care, attending his therapy sessions, being his primary emotional support. Freya paused. I'm wondering if you want to make it official. Mira's brain stalled. Official how? Adoption, legal guardianship, making you officially responsible for him. Freya pulled out a document. I've noticed you don't like leaving decisions about his well-being to others. This would give you the authority to make those decisions formally. I'm Omega. Can Omegas even adopt? In Frost Hollow, yes. We don't restrict parental rights based on designation. Freya slid the document across the desk. Of course you'd need Finn's agreement, but I think we both know what he'd say. Mira stared at the paperwork. You're serious. Completely. You're already functioning as his parent in every way that matters. This just makes it legal. What if I'm not good enough? What if I mess him up? Mira, you carried him 12 miles through a blizzard to save his life. You've defended him against harassment, supported his medical treatment, and shown him more love in 6 weeks than most pups get in years. You're already good enough. Mira's hands were shaking as she picked up the document. Can I think about it? Talk to Finn? Of course. Take your time. Freya stood. But for what it's worth, I think you'd be an excellent mother. Finn's lucky to have you. That evening, after Finn finished his homework, Mira sat him down. I need to talk to you about something important. Finn immediately looked worried. Are we leaving? Did I do something wrong? No, nothing like that. Actually, the opposite. Mira took a breath. Alpha Freya asked if I wanted to adopt you, officially. Make it so I'm legally your guardian. Your mom, basically. Finn's eyes went huge. Really? Really, but only if you want that. I know you've been through a lot, and maybe you don't want... Finn launched himself at her, wrapping his arms around her neck so hard she almost fell over. Yes, 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 yes. I want you to be my mom. Mira held him tight, blinking back tears. Yeah? You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Finn pulled back to look at her, his face bright with joy. You're my person, Mira. You've been my person since you found me. Making it official just means the world knows what I already knew. Which is that I'm yours and you're mine and we're family. Finn's smile was brilliant. Forever. Forever, Mira agreed, her voice rough with emotion. You're stuck with me now, kid. No takebacks. Good. I don't want takebacks. I want this. I want you. They signed the papers the next day. It was a small ceremony, just Freya, Marcus, Kara, and a few of Finn's closest friends. Nothing elaborate. But when Freya officially declared Mira as Finn's legal guardian, the look of pure happiness on Finn's face made Mira's chest ache. Congratulations, Freya said, shaking Mira's hand. You're officially a parent. Try not to screw him up too badly. No promises. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a disaster at this. All parents are disasters. The good ones just keep trying anyway. That night, tucking Finn into bed in their quarters, Mira marveled at how much had changed in just 6 weeks. From 2 broken refugees to an actual family. Mom? Finn said sleepily. It was the first time he'd called her that. Mira's throat went tight. Yeah, sweetheart? Thank you for not leaving me in the snow, for carrying me when I couldn't walk, for choosing me. Thank you for letting me, Mira whispered, for trusting me, for being you. Love you, Finn mumbled, already drifting off. Love you too, kid. So much. She watched him sleep for a long moment. This pup she'd found broken and scared in a blizzard. This pup who was hers now. This pup she'd walk through 1,000 storms to protect. Some things were worth freezing for, and some things were worth everything. Every pack turned away the disabled pup, rejected Omega, carried him 10 miles through snow, Part 3. The trouble started 2 months after the adoption, on the first real spring day after a brutal winter. Finn was playing with his friends near the pack training grounds, a group of pups laughing and chasing each other in the mud that came with snowmelt. His brace was working well, and with physical therapy he could run now. Not fast, not smoothly, but run. It was progress. It was everything. Mira was watching from the clinic porch, smiling at how far he'd come, when she saw Derek and his friends approach. Her smile died. "Well, well," Derek's voice carried across the yard. "Look at the cripple trying to keep up. That's adorable." The playing stopped. Finn's friends, good kids, loyal kids, immediately flanked him protectively. "Leave him alone," a girl named Sarah said. She was 8, fierce, and absolutely done with Derek's nonsense. "Or what? You going to protect him? He can't even protect himself." "I can protect myself," Finn said, his voice steady, despite the fear Mira could see in his eyes. "I don't need anyone's protection." "Really?" "Because you needed that Omega to carry you here like a baby. How pathetic is that?" "My mom saved my life," Finn corrected. "That's not pathetic. That's brave." "Your mom is a rejected Omega who stole from her own pack, and you're a defective runt who should have been left to die. You're both worthless." That's when Mira started moving. She was halfway across the yard when Finn spoke, his voice loud and clear. "At least my mom chose me. At least she wanted me. Your father only tolerates you because he has to. Everyone knows you're a disappointment." "Oh no. Oh, Finn, no." Derek's face went purple with rage. He lunged at Finn, shifting mid-leap into his wolf form. But he never made contact. Sarah and 2 other pups threw themselves in front of Finn, creating a living barrier. And Mira arrived half a second later, catching Derek mid-air and slamming him into the ground hard enough to knock the wind out of him. "Touch my son, and I will end you," she snarled. "I don't care who your father is or what your rank is. You attack a child, you deal with me." Derek shifted back, gasping. "You can't. You're just an Omega." "I'm a mother protecting her pup. That trumps everything else." "This isn't over," Derek wheezed. "Yes, it is. Because next time you even look at Finn wrong, I'm reporting you to Alpha Freya. And I'll make sure everyone knows you attacked a disabled pup half your size. Let's see how brave you look then." Derek scrambled away, his friends following. The pups erupted in cheers. Sarah high-fived Finn, who looked equal parts terrified and exhilarated. "That was amazing," Sarah said. "Your mom is so cool." "That was terrifying," Finn corrected, but he was smiling. "But yeah, she's pretty cool." Mira pulled Finn into a hug, her heart still hammering. "You okay?" "I'm okay. Sorry I provoked him. I know I shouldn't have, but he kept saying awful things and I just—" "I know. I get it. Trust me, I do." Mira pulled back to look at him seriously. "But Finn, you can't pick fights with wolves twice your size. Not yet. Not until you're bigger and stronger. I wasn't going to fight him. I was just going to talk until you got there." "You had that much faith I'd show up?" "You always show up," Finn said simply. "That's what moms do." Mira's chest felt tight. "Yeah, that's what moms do." Of course, Derek reported the incident to his father. Beta Callan, Derek's father and Beta Marcus's counterpart, summoned both Mira and Derek to mediation that afternoon. "My son says your Omega attacked him unprovoked," Callan said, his voice cold. "Your son is lying," Mira replied pleasantly. "He attacked my pup. I defended him. There were a dozen witnesses. Derek was provoked by your son's insults. Finn defended himself verbally against harassment. Derek responded with physical violence. Those are not equivalent. An omega has no right to lay hands on a beta wolf. A mother has every right to defend her child from attack. Mira's voice hardened. Your son shifted and lunged at a disabled pup. If I hadn't intervened, Finn would have been seriously injured. So either Derek is punished for assaulting a child, or I take this to Alpha Freya and let her decide. Your choice. Callan's face flushed. You dare! I dare protect my son from bullies. Yes, absolutely, always. Beta Marcus, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. I've reviewed witness statements. They all corroborate Mira's version of events. Derek initiated physical violence against a minor. That's a serious offense, regardless of who intervened. He's my son. And Finn is hers. The law doesn't care about designation when a child's safety is at risk. Marcus's tone was firm. Derek is 17, old enough to know better. He's restricted from pack training for 2 weeks and will write a formal apology. That's unacceptable. That's lenient. Alpha Freya would have made it a month. Marcus stood. This meeting is over. Keep your son away from Finn, or next time there will be more serious consequences. After they left, Mira collapsed into a chair, shaking with delayed adrenaline. You did good, Marcus said, standing up for him like that. I didn't have a choice. He's my kid. You always have a choice. You could have let it go, avoided the conflict, tried to keep the peace. Marcus smiled slightly. But you didn't, because you're a good mother. I'm terrified I'm going to mess him up. All parents are. The ones who aren't terrified are usually the problems. Marcus headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Finn's lucky to have you, and this pack is better for having you both. That evening, Finn found Mira on the porch, staring out at the forest. You okay, Mom? Just thinking. About what? About how much trouble we are. About whether it would be easier for everyone if we'd just... She stopped. Sorry, that's not fair to put on you. Would be easier if we'd what? Left? Finn sat beside her. Mom, we make people uncomfortable because we exist, because I'm disabled and you're Omega, and together we prove that the old ways are wrong. That's not our fault. When did you get so wise? I've had a good teacher. Finn leaned against her. You taught me that being different isn't wrong, that my leg doesn't define my worth, that I deserve to exist exactly as I am. Remember? I remember. Then remember it for yourself, too. You're not too much. You're not a burden. You're my mom, and you're exactly what I needed. Mira pulled him close, blinking back tears. I love you, kid. Love you, too, even when you're dramatic and overthinking everything. I'm not dramatic. Mom, you threatened to end Derek. That's pretty dramatic. I was protecting you. I know. It was awesome. Finn grinned. All my friends think you're the coolest mom in the pack now. Great. I've become that parent. The best kind of parent. Spring turned to summer, and life continued. Finn thrived, growing taller, stronger, more confident. His leg would never be perfect, but with his brace and exercises, he could do almost everything other pups could, just differently. He became fascinated with healing after watching Kara work. Started spending time in the clinic, learning about medicines and treatments. Turned out he had a gift for it, a calm demeanor and gentle hands that put patients at ease. He's a natural, Kara told Mira one day as they watched Finn carefully bandage another pup's scraped knee. Have you thought about letting him train properly? As a healer? He's 9. Old enough to start learning, and he clearly has the aptitude. What if he gets hurt? What if someone decides he's not worthy and... Mira, Kara's voice was gentle. You can't protect him from everything. At some point, you have to let him try. What if he fails? Then he tries again. That's life. Kara smiled. But I don't think he will. I think he's going to be extraordinary. Mira watched Finn finish the bandage, his face serious with concentration. The other pup was smiling, chattering about how much better it felt. "Okay," Mira said finally. "He can train, if he wants to." "I want to," Finn said, looking up with bright eyes. "Please, Mom. I want to learn to help people like Kara helped me." "Then you'll learn," Mira agreed. "But if it gets too hard, or if anyone gives you trouble, I'll tell you immediately, and you'll go full protective Mama Wolf on them. I know the drill." "I don't go full protective Mama Wolf." "Mom, you threatened to burn down a pack house once." "That was different." "Uh-huh, sure it was." 2 years passed. Finn was 11 now, training seriously as a healer and showing real talent. His legs still caused him pain sometimes, but he'd learned to manage it, learned to ask for help when he needed it without shame. And Mira had found something she'd never expected: a home. A real home, where she and Finn weren't just tolerated but valued, where their differences made them interesting instead of wrong. Then one winter morning, a patrol brought in a rogue pup, maybe 6 years old, hypothermic and injured, with a twisted arm that had healed wrong. "Found her near the border," the patrol leader said. "Looks like she was abandoned." Mira and Finn exchanged a look. "I'll get the warming blankets," Finn said immediately. "I'll check her for injuries," Mira added. They worked together, seamlessly, the way they'd learned to over 2 years of being family. The pup was scared and in pain, but Finn's gentle hands and calm voice helped her relax. "You're safe now," he told her softly. "We've got you. I promise no one's going to hurt you here." The pup stared at him with huge, frightened eyes. "What's wrong with your leg?" "It was born this way. Works differently than most wolves' legs, but it still works. See?" Finn demonstrated his brace. "Pretty cool, right? Does it hurt?" "Sometimes, but that's okay. We manage it." Finn smiled. "What's your name?" "Rena." "Hi, Rena, I'm Finn. This is my mom, Mira. We're going to take care of you." "You promise? You won't leave me?" "We promise," Mira said firmly. "No one is leaving you. You're pack now." Later, after Rena had been fed and warmed and tucked into a guest room with Kara checking on her regularly, Alpha Freya found Mira in the hallway. "You and Finn were good with her," Freya said. "Natural. We've been where she is. We know what it feels like." "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" "That depends on what you're thinking." "That maybe Rena needs what Finn needed. Someone who understands. Someone who won't give up on her." Freya smiled. "Someone like you." Mira's breath caught. "You're asking if I want to adopt her? I'm asking if you and Finn want to expand your family. If you're ready for that." "I should talk to Finn first." "Of course." "But Mira, you saved one disabled pup by carrying him through a blizzard. You've raised him into a confident, kind, capable young wolf. I think you're exactly who Rena needs." That night, Mira asked Finn what he thought. "I think we should do it," he said immediately. "She's scared and alone, and she has a disability no one helped her with. She needs us." "You sure? It would mean sharing me, sharing our home. Mom, you carried me through a blizzard when you barely knew me. Of course we should help her." Finn's expression was serious. "Besides, I remember what it felt like to have no one, to think I was going to die alone. If we can save her from that, we have to try." "When did you get so grown up?" "I had a good teacher." Finn grinned. "Plus, I've always been mature for my age. It's my best quality." "Your best quality is your terrible sense of humor." "I learned that from you too." They adopted Rena 3 weeks later. It was harder than it had been with Finn. Rena was traumatized, scared, and convinced everyone would eventually leave her. But slowly, patiently, Mira and Finn showed her that some families don't give up. 5 years later, Finn was 16 and training to take over as head healer when Kara eventually retired. Rena was 11, confident and bright, with a specially designed arm brace that let her do almost everything other pups could. And Mira? Mira had become one of Frost Hollow's most respected healers, known for her skill and her absolute refusal to give up on difficult cases. "You've built something remarkable," Alpha Freya told her one spring afternoon as they watched Finn teach a group of younger pups about wound care while Rena demonstrated proper bandaging technique with her modified grip. "I just did what anyone would do." "No, you did what most people wouldn't do. You saw a child in need and you carried him through hell to save him. Then you did it again with Rena, and in doing so, you changed this entire pack's understanding of what strength means. I just wanted them to be safe." "You wanted them to be valued. There's a difference." Freya smiled. "Do you remember what you said when you first arrived? That you'd burn this pack house down if we lied to Finn?" "I was slightly stressed at the time. You were fierce. You still are. And this pack is better for it." Freya stood. "Thank you, Mira, for showing us what real strength looks like, for proving that love and stubborn determination can overcome anything." That evening, Mira sat on her porch with Finn on one side and Rena on the other, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Mom," Rena said, "can I ask you something?" "Always." "Why did you save Finn when you found him in the snow?" "You didn't know him. You had no reason to help." Mira thought about it for a moment. "Because he needed help. Because no child deserves to die alone and scared. Because I'd spent my whole life being told I was too much or not enough, and I refused to make someone else feel that way." "Even though it was hard? Even though you could have died?" "Even though." Mira pulled both kids close. "Some things are worth freezing for. Some things are worth everything." "We're lucky you found us," Finn said quietly. "I'm lucky you let me stay," Mira corrected. "You both taught me that family isn't about blood or designation or physical ability. It's about choosing each other. Every single day." "We choose you," Rena said. "We choose you too," Finn added. "Good," Mira said, her voice thick with emotion, "because you're both stuck with me forever. No take-backs." "Forever sounds perfect," Finn said. "Forever sounds like home," Rena agreed. And sitting there with her kids, her chosen, beloved, impossible kids, watching the sun set on another day they'd survived together, Mira thought that maybe she'd finally figured out what strength really meant. It wasn't about never falling. It wasn't about being perfect or fitting in or meeting someone else's standards. It was about getting up anyway, about carrying others when they couldn't walk, about choosing love when the world chose cruelty. It was about looking at a disabled pup in a blizzard and deciding that no, actually, he doesn't get to die today. It was about 10 miles through snow and 2 frozen refugees who became a family. It was about proving every single day that different isn't less. That disabled doesn't mean disposable. That omega doesn't mean weak. It was about being stubborn enough to survive and soft enough to love. And it was about 2 kids who'd been thrown away, finding a mother who refused to let them go. Years later, when Finn was grown and leading Frost Hollow's healing division, training a new generation of healers, he'd tell the story of how his mother carried him through a blizzard. How she saved him not just from the cold, but from believing he was worthless. "My mom taught me the most important lesson I know," he'd say to his students, many of whom were disabled or omega or otherwise considered less than. That our worth isn't determined by what our bodies can do. It's determined by who we choose to be and how we treat others. She also taught me to be incredibly stubborn and to threaten people who hurt the ones I love. But that's a whole different lesson. And in the back of the healing center, Mira would smile. Because her kids, all the kids she'd saved and helped and taught, were changing the world. One stubborn, fierce, loving act at a time. Just like she'd taught them. Just like someone should have taught her. But better late than never. When every pack turned away the disabled pup, when his own parents left him to freeze, one omega saw a child who deserved to live. She didn't have resources or status or any reason to believe she'd succeed. She just had stubborn determination and 10 miles of frozen hell between them and safety. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that's everything. Have you ever been the person who didn't walk away? Who carried someone through their storm even though it cost you? Or have you been the one who was carried? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe in stories about found family, disability representation, and the kind of fierce protective love that says, "Not on my watch," subscribe and join our pack. Remember, strength isn't about never needing help. It's about being brave enough to ask for it and generous enough to give it. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to leave someone behind.